G'day guys, welcome back to another live session, and it's evening now here in Hobart, 6 p.m. So it's a bit on the, it hasn't been a bad day today. It's been quite a nice mild day. It was slightly warmer yesterday, but it's, quite good today in that regard. And there's the new lights, the proper circadian ones, and the other one over there is basically the red light. So a bit of a change in that regard. So I've updated the lighting at home. Yeah, red light district, T1. Yes, mate. Yes. They can see the light out there. They can see the back part of the place. They can see the light on the other side. So, yep. I stand out. So, yes. They're probably wondering, what is Harry up to? Yes, we're getting there. It's like pulling teeth out. It's so slow. But I can only hope that by the end of the year, I'm over the 1,000. Hopefully, we'll get there. I can only hope. It's been a bit disheartening in the last couple of months where I've been stuck for some time in the 400 mark and haven't budged for a while. Recently, I got a bit of a boost, but it's only been a minor boost. Better than nothing. I'm not complaining for the boost that I got, but the YouTube skullduggery of deliberately undermining a lot of YouTube creators that don't follow the party line is quite unfair. And so fingers crossed, and with your help as well, if you share my content and on your social media pages, on other locations, you start sharing stuff around and letting people know about me. That will help. I can't do everything. Third party sort of endorsement does help. Other people basically promoting you amongst their own friends and stuff like that. So please do that. It helps me sort of grow. It's been a bit slow, but such is life. He's off to doing things while the sun's still around. Yes, the sun's gone down here in Hobart. It is 6 p.m. So he's starting to get dark out there. G'day, Dave. Hope things are well early in the morning in Barcelona, nice and warm. You guys are at the beginning of autumn, so it still would be, you're in the Mediterranean. I know from Greece, things are quite warm, so should be very comfortable. Should be still close to the mid or high 30s at this stage. Probably not at this early in the morning. It's probably around the 28s or early, close to 30 odd from memory. It's pretty much what the Mediterranean is. I don't know which part, of the city you are. So if you're closer to the centre, it may be warmer. If you're further out, it may be a bit cooler, depending on the sea breeze. So yes, it does vary. Yeah, look, so do I. It's quite disheartening, it's, I sort of sometimes talk to myself and say, why am I doing this? Is it worth the time that I put in for the very little effort or the very little reward that I get back? I mean, if this was an investment policy, YouTube was an investment policy, I wouldn't be wasting my time, basically. It's a dog with fleas. So, yes, in that regard, everybody managed to get here on time for this one. Good for you, Trouble. Good to see you here. G'day, Lamps. Good to see you, mate. Yes, old Blinky boy himself, he's all excitement. Yes. Timing is a thing, isn't it, T1? Very important, very important. Yes, yes. I do have a thing that I actually forgot to actually mention earlier today. I was just too many things. I had to go to Dad's place. I had to organise a couple of things, call my sister, find out which things that are going to be moved over to Western Australia, and so I had a lot of on my mind, and I forgot about it. I am looking for people who have got active sort of, thyroid disease. G'day, Mandy. Good to see you. Morning. You will grow faster. I put my name. Look. I hope that is the case. But time will tell. And what I've been working on, it pretty much was last Sunday night. I was actually doing, when I got back home, I sort of went through some of my old stuff, and I had some epiphanies and all that. And it's in regards to Hashimoto's and stuff like that, thyroid diseases and all that, active thyroid Hashimoto's. And what I'm putting out there for my subs that may have members of their family or themselves or whatever, if you want to be part of a protocol, email me. I want to test a protocol to see whether we can get complete reversal in the next couple of months. So, from my research, I believe that it's possible. It won't be immediate, obviously, but I believe it's possible. But I need a sort of a group of people that are willing to volunteer. Yes, we need experimental animals of the human type to basically check to see. I'm trying to get at least 10. I will remind people next week on the live stream, the day one as well, the morning one, and try and get more people on. If I can get 10 people minimum, then we can run this protocol and try and actually reverse Hashimoto's. So, and that's pretty much what I'm quite confident that I think I've worked the right balance of certain types of minerals and dietary approaches to basically nip it in the bud properly. So, time will tell. I could be wrong, but even if a certain reversal or a certain reduction in pathology, that is better than nothing. So, it will depend on how long somebody's active disease has been. So it may require them to be longer on such a protocol, but it's good to try things. At the end of the day, the problem is that nobody tries anything. There's a lot of research out there, information that shows that if you do certain things happen, certain magic things happen. The problem is nobody tries all these combined elements to basically get certain results. And that's where the biggest problem lies, that we're not making traction, so that's where the biggest issues lie. So hopefully you can sort of encourage some of your friends, relatives, partners, or acquaintances even, or work colleagues that may have or may be interested in doing something like that. Maybe frustrated, may want to basically deal with their issues. So, yeah, maybe they're interested in giving it a try. You never know. So, if so, pass on my email address and basically get them to, consider. I will basically, it's if you go under the About button on my channel, you can actually access the button itself. So please do that. I would really appreciate it if you could get a few people that would sign up to do it. They would have to get their own supplements and stuff like that in there, and the food requirements and all that. I would not be providing, financially, I couldn't help them. This is a voluntary thing, and an opportunity for these people to reverse, their current health issues. So, yeah. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Hopefully I get a few pickings. So in the next month, I'll be basically keep on reminding people, and hopefully they will basically consider, things that, yes. Anyway, now let's get back to Lamsey. He's asking me what's your take on the healthy keto plus intermittent fasting approach of Eric's Burge preachers? Look, intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding is good. Chronically doing it can be an issue sometimes for some people, depending on their, health issues. But, if you're time restricting for 16 hours, I can only see benefits as long as you're getting sufficient nutrition in the other 6 to 8 hours. If you're getting sufficient nutrition to support your endocrine system, your general health, that shouldn't be a problem. The only things that I have in regards to Eric Burge, there's a lot of, he's not bad with a lot of information. He does read a lot of studies. He's quite cluey. Sometimes he focuses too narrowly in a reductionist way to make a point, and that's where I sort of sometimes depart with him, and I have issues with him that he's a bit too narrow. And sometimes, he promotes certain things, promoting nutritional yeast. Now, nutritional yeast, there are studies that actually show there are a varied bioavailability and also issues with nutritional yeast. Why doesn't he promote organ meats, which are much more dense in these B vitamins and all that, and in other minerals, which are far better? So, that's one issue. The other one is basically he's, all you can eat salads, which is another issue. A lot of anti-nutrients and issues there. And we know that there are a number of these foods that do have a direct effect on chelation and reducing the amount of bioavailability. So he promotes certain things. I mean, if you consume too much turmeric, as an example, you can actually end up with an iron deficiency, and it's well known in the subcontinent. So it's an issue that is actually being dealt with there, and actually has been picked up by a number of researchers in that country, because it's curry powders are very prominent in that culture. So obviously the higher the incidence would be in that culture due to some of these chelators. So there's a number of things that he seems like some of the other naturopaths jump on these sort of the hermetics. We've got plenty of hermetics. We've got EMF as a hermetic. We've got exercise as a hermetic. We've got fasting as a hermetic. How many hermetics do you want? It can be, you can over hermetic yourself or put too much stress on your body. We've got enough stresses in the, let alone family, issues and squabbles and other things that are stressing us. We don't need to add. We need to remove. We need to basically try and actually, provide ourselves with more karma and all that. We don't need to add all these sort of nutraceuticals. They're a waste of money. Our ancestors didn't waste their time with these things. Putting a bit, I mean, I sometimes put a bit of turmeric on certain things, or I'll actually mix it into a soup just for the flavor, but I won't put excessive amounts. There's diminishing returns, there's flavor, and then there's basically chelation and basically reducing the uptake of, important minerals. So, we don't want to be doing that. And the problem is, Eric's one of these people. He's starting to, recently I've noticed that he has been putting out things like where he says, if you've got a gut issue, go carnivore, which he never said in the past. He just basically said, take out these plants. Now he's saying, take out all the plants. Now that's been a massive transformation on his part. But see, he's monetized the whole idea, and he's got supplements of all these powders based on a number of these plants compounds. So it's very hard for him to sort of pull himself or extract himself away from that notion without basically coming across as, oh, you made a major mistake, you've got a supplement that's useless or something like that. So he's sort of he's trying to play both ends of the ring, so to speak. So on the one hand going, oh yeah, because he knows that if you go carnivore, a lot of these issues go away, gut issues. So he's done that on the one hand. On the other hand, he sort of still promotes and if you've probably noticed, he's moved away from, promoting the sort of idea, massive amounts of plants. He doesn't say that anymore, but he does say, oh, you can have this supplement that is more concentrated, so you don't need to eat shitloads of plants. So he seems to be, it's a slight shift, but you do notice it. It's a slight, most people sort of miss it because they're not paying attention, or they're sort of followers, so they just go, oh yeah, they just lap it up. But when you're sort of a discerning, person, a bit like me, and a lot of you guys, because the reason why you gravitate towards people like me and Bart is because you're a bit discerning, you're a bit critical. You don't just take things at face value, which is a good thing, but a lot of people do, and so it's much easier with those sort of people for him to sort of transition. And that's what a lot of them do. They sort of transition over time. And, that's how they sort of operate. But a lot of some of the stuff that he actually says is good, is really good, is really spot on. Some general ailments and stuff like that. Some of his chiropractic approaches, I'd put a question mark on. Some of them are actually quite good. Like the one with, if you've got gallstones and all that under the rib cage, put a bit of pressure there and all that, that provides a lot of relief. And in the, times in the past when I had gallstone issues myself, I've got sort of sludge now. A lot of that's got cleared out, but and it's getting better, in that regard for my more plant heavy days. But massaging under the rib cage and all that sort of stuff actually really relieved also headaches and stuff like that. So he's got some good techniques. Don't get me wrong. It's not all bad. It's a sort of a mixed bag in that regard. But sometimes you have to be careful and selective. I would say if it's very plant orientated where he's pushing, because sometimes he'll actually mention all these plants and I'm go, well, there's a number of actually animal products that are actually superior in both those micronutrients or in terms of supporting certain pathways. Why aren't you mentioning those? And this is where, he still has that sort of, he's very much, he comes from a more plant-based sort of background and he knows a lot about those compounds and stuff like that. And so tends to promote that. If you ignore some of that, the plant-based bullshit that he actually mentions, then some of the other information isn't too bad. I'm not saying it's stellar, it's sort of the run-of-the-mill sort of stuff. It's nothing, extraordinary creative. It's stuff anybody can actually just grab a biochemistry book or a study or that and find this sort of stuff out. Where the real magic comes from is where you pull all these different studies and then you try to combine things like I do, or Bart or other people in a more intelligent and creative way to see if I push these pathways, can I get certain differing results that other people haven't got before? That's where the magic comes from. These people don't have that sort of lateral thinking. They just grab the sort of stuff, and sometimes he even opens up the biochemistry book and makes it bluntly clear where the information's coming from, and he just reads it. I could do that. Anyone could do that. That doesn't really. That's just a standard mantra. How certain biochemical processes happen. Yep, it's okay to. I usually do I just do when I'm explaining something, I'll just give a general little bit of an understanding of it, but I don't focus on that, because basically you guys are not biochemists, you're not biophysicists or whatever. You just want to know then these pathways, when they're interacting in a certain way, what are the results and how do I biohack myself? That's what you want to know. That's where the magic is. So that's the sort of stuff that I'm trying to get around. Where Eric helps is that he can clean up some areas. He can elucidate certain things and bring to people the sort of people that are on a standard diet and all that. Eric's stuff's not too bad. It's probably hard to get them to transition them full carnivore. Where Eric's stuff, it's sort of a halfway house. You can sort of transition them to that. Some people to that sort of area. It's not perfect. In some regards, it's quite. It's not as useful, but he's not too bad. He's compared to, I would say, 70% is not too bad. It's sort of the run of the mill that most people are putting out there. Like Thomas DeLauer and other people like that, they just basically gravitate on studies. They repeat things, and in some cases in very reductionist, narrow ways. They're not really telling you anything, because it's basically all. They'll go into issues like, this study showed that, or that study showed that if you do that. But life's a bit more complicated, and it's not basically that straightforward. So it's really important that you understand that. And one size will not fit everybody. And I tend to do a more genomics approach, and I actually look at ancestral side. What are your ancestors? What are your genetics? What are your sort of potential predispositions? Stuff like that. Try to give you an understanding of how you can biohack yourself, which is far more important. Where these guys just do generic stuff, that's their approach. They've got the usefulness. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't have a problem if somebody promoted these people to the general sad dieters. They could do worse. Let me put it that way. But I wouldn't say that their information is stellar. It's just sort of, your run of the mill. That's all I really have to say in that regard. Better than the sad diet. G'day, mate. Good to see you. Gideon. And your thoughts on selenium food, safe supplementation, Harry. Eldest son is low on latest check. Yeah, look, a lot of people are. Actually, selenium is really important for the thyroid, but getting the right combination, that's where the protocol comes in with iodine, because it can cause a number. You have to, that's why the protocol, it is a specific way. But selenium, yes, is important. It's in eggs. It's in a number of seafoods. Remember the one that I did on yellowfin tuna is really high in selenium, really good source. Eggs, really good source. Liver, really good source. So, and I usually say that if you've got underlying sort of, issues and all that, consider between 200 and 300 micrograms. That's where you need to be in those levels. So you need to basically look at the sort of the animal foods that combine that. Just find. Seek. And I'll just move that up here. And give me a sec. Sure. Okay. So this is not a bad site. It's called My Food Data. They've got a whole lot of list of different stuff. So selenium, look, biggest problem with Brazil nuts, yes, they're a good source, but they can be a problem. They can have too much or too little, depending on which soils they come from. So they can give you too much, which is toxic levels, or they can give you too little. So, and also when you get too much, it could also throw the thyroid out as well. So I don't recommend Brazil nuts. So here we go. Tuna. Great. 100 grams. You can have, let's say, 6 ounces. So basically that is 170 grams for those on the metric system. And pretty much you're getting 180, you're nearly getting 200, which is pretty good. So, most people, in the carnivore community probably having 2 meals a day. So it's not very difficult. With animal foods, it's really easy. That's the only real, plant food. But the problem is it's just way out of whack. You can it be in extremes, which is a problem. It can actually have very low values. I've seen extremely low values in some studies of Brazil nuts from certain parts of the world where the soils are depleted in selenium. So Brazil nuts, it can be a waste of money, and it's just, or it can be too much. So you've got oysters, another good source. Pork, one of my favorites. I love pork. So another good source, as you can see, so you can basically have, if you got 400 grams, so when we're looking at 400 grams, it's 3.5, 7, 14 ounces. So 14 ounces, you've nearly got your 200. So just that. And, chicken breasts, beef, pretty much good. Tofu's crap, very poorly bioavailable. And these are sort of like, it's again the soils. These are optimistic, and they chelated as well in the wheat products. So, and most refined stuff has fuck all. So it's a waste of time. I don't know, so always plants got all their issues. So you guys are aware of that. You're not fools. The drill. Forget about the RDIs. Just fucking ignore them. They're a waste of space in a sense. They're too low. 70 micrograms is far too low. You basically want to inhibit cancer. Most research actually shows that basically when you're at the 250, you're inhibiting 46% cancer. So, and that's there. And I would say go to 300. Beyond 500, they consider toxic. But, that's never been proven. But at the same time, I say people don't risk it. You get great health benefits once you're between, I usually gravitate around the 300 mark with my food I've averaged out about 300 micrograms. Perfect. Great for the thyroid. And not only that, but also great for, as an antioxidant. It's fantastic. It also great as a chelator of mercury. So if you've got mercury issues, selenide in the form of, it's an enzymatic form of selenium. It's selenium plays a cofactor to create this selenide, and it's a chelator. So you can get rid of that nasty mercury out of your system. Anyway, let's move on. I have no idea about these mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, what their bioavailability. So I'm not going to comment because I don't know, because it would be wrong to do that. The other thing is they've got basically these you can come down here where they've got nutritional ranking tools, and you can go for the tools, which is a good option on these sometimes because that's just the 10 most, and they usually will put a page sometimes at the bottom, but they don't have it on this one. They didn't bother. So you go at this, and it actually brings up the tools, which can be quite useful. And so you can go say, okay, I'm not going to go calories, I'm going to go grams. Makes more sense. And they've got all the common ones. You can actually click all the boxes if you want, which will add everything, which is in all the different databases. So the common, the standard, all these are different databases in that regard. And you can go from high. You can actually pick the food types. So go fish as an example. So it'll change it. Tuna, dried, bang. There you go. So 100. So this is 100 grams. So that's 3.5 ounces. And basically you have got nearly 300 micrograms. or in the other way, in the plain English, is MCG. So that's the sort of the Greek version, because that's where it comes from. In terms of its method, they're using the classical method to describe micrograms, but that is basically, if you see MCG somewhere, it's the same. Anyway, so you can pick your food, and they've got all the different nutrients here as well. You can go through all the different biotin, whatever. So if you go for biotin, fish have got fuck all. So when we go to dairy and eggs, obviously, you know, they've also got processed stuff, which is basically fortified and stuff like that. So you just ignore that shit and go through and find the things that are important. So these are the sort of tools that you guys can use in that regard. So I hope that is of usefulness. I will place it there. So anybody who wants to be able to bookmark that for themselves, they can. So as you can see, animal foods are very, very rich in selenium. So if you eat these sort of animal foods, you should be fine. No, that was basically the fish thing. T2 was in regards to what we were looking at. We were looking at something else. What was I looking at? I actually picked something else, remember? So, yes. So, yes, that's not correct. Tuna is very high. Remember? I was looking at biotin. So if you're saying about biotin, it's got fish have got fuck all biotin. Yeah, that's true. If that's what you meant. So yeah, look, I hope that sort of information sort of helped. Yes. Yeah, I lost my spot. I love StreamYard. I love StreamYard. I love StreamYard. No, I don't. Eric is selling chocolate kale drinks. Oh, God. Is he? I didn't know that. Oh, God, that is real shit. That's oxalate on steroids. God. Wonderful. Get yourself an oxalate drink, a real oxalate drink. I've got my nightly milk. Little Harry boy has got his, milk for the night. Put him to sleep. I warmed up some milk earlier. So, yes. No honey on it, unfortunately. Thank the fuck for that. Salad boy is the honey man. Well, he thinks he is. Oh, what's Dave asking? Derry, I've heard a lot about the benefits of carnivore for neurodegenerative conditions. Yep, they are great. Is this due to the right kind of fats to support myelination and other possible mechanisms why it helps? Yeah, pretty much. You know, the amino acids and the fatty acids that are part of an ancestral diet actually do support very much those. But the most important ones are that a lot of people, when it comes to autoimmune diseases, the most important things are the actual, a lot of people aren't aware. I haven't done a video on it, but the stuff that I've been talking about, the collagen degrading enzymes, the matrix metalloproteinases. Well, these enzymes are also involved heavily in autoimmune, something that's completely neglected. And it doesn't surprise me. What are the 3 vitamins that are primarily in animal foods that actually, or hormone-like effect, they're sort of, we call them vitamins, but they have more hormone-like effect? Retinol. The next one, D3. The next one, MK4, the animal form of K2. These are critical for remodeling tissue. And also the proteins that are part of. Remember, these nerve cells are made of proteins, cholesterol, and fatty acids. And they need these enzymes to basically model them. What a carnivore diet does is provide shitloads of material on the one hand, and also the elements that both activate and manage, control this. This is why we notice these radical changes, you know. And even a keto diet doesn't furnish sufficient. It's poor, especially if you're doing a low protein keto diet, you know, like a lot of people do therapeutic stuff and stuff like that. You still need a number of these amino acids as well that are very important. So a carnivore diet tends to basically furnish and provide all the elements required to build this sort of tissue and maintain this sort of tissue. And that's where the magic comes from. You give the body what it needs. And then your genetics, your DNA that has been with you for thousands and thousands of years, you've inherited, all it does is it unwinds, it transcripts RNA through RNA transcription, and it produces through the mechanisms inside the cells that basically build these, which, you know, like the viruses use sometimes, these mechanisms to build all these enzymes that go around doing all this work. But if you don't have sufficient protein to do this work, you're undernourishing yourself. And a lot of people undernourish themselves when it comes to protein. You know, people fear protein as much as they fear fat, you know, and that's where half the problem lies, you know. This doesn't mean it's an all you can eat continuously. You don't want to be in a continuous anabolic state. You want to occasionally do a bit of autophagy, a bit of fasting, a bit of time-restricted feeding. But when you feed your body, you need to feed the proper foods. And when you do that, magic happens. It's as simple as that. I mean, we only have to look at populations around the world that have fed themselves and they've never degenerated. You know, when people are undernourished, they end up getting rickets, they end up getting all these other malformations and problems. You know, early farmers had these telltale signs on their cranium that actually showed iron deficiencies. So when you deny people good nutrition, they start having these, and it depends on people's genetics and the different combinations of different deficiencies that it will manifest in multiple different ways. And that's why we get these variations. But fundamentally, when you provide people with the right nutrition, it all comes together. You know, it's that's the sort of simplest way I can actually put it. You know, it's the magic of animal foods. Okay, I heard the claim due to the specific mechanisms of action of the immune system, milk proteins can trigger inflammation. Bullshit. Reaction in this smallest number due to dendritic cells. It's all bullshit. Absolute bullshit. You know, it's just more association. There is not one clinical study that shows people that do not have an active autoimmune disease, where they're dysregulated, dysfunctional, where they've got leaky gut and all sorts of issues like that. Normal people, no, not an issue. People have been drinking milk for decades. The Maasai consume on average about 4 to 4.5 liters of milk a day. And a lot of other populations that are much healthier than the American population consume large amounts of milk. Now, there is milk and there is milk. There is milk, which is crappy milk, like in the US primarily, which is full of sugars and very little fat, and a lot of other, and sometimes even seed oils. So, yeah, I'm not kidding you, even seed oils and some brands. So they are just crap. It's like some of the ice creams. You know, the majority of them, 90% of ice creams have some level of seed oil in it. Just look at the package. You'll see vegetable oil, vegetable oil, vegetable oil. Some of them tend to have a bit of like coconut oil or palm oil, but the majority have just the stock shit. So what is it? Is it the vegetable oil, which I would say yes, or is it basically the milk in that? And this is probably the problem with a lot of these association studies. They have not shown any mechanism. If you can show me a study with clear mechanism of raw milk or milk that hasn't been tainted in any way that shows something like that, I'll say, yeah, you're right. You've got a point. You've made a point. But no, there's nothing out there. On the other hand, when they actually look at raw milk, or they look at milk that's not tainted, just normal, standard stock milk that's just been pasteurized, they actually see benefits, you know. So, you know, when you basically look at the vegetarian diets, when you basically have eggs and milk and dairy products, and you eliminate all the seed oils, the sugars, like the Ornish diet does, and all this other crap, smoking, drinking, and all that, actually these people show improve compared to the standard American diet. So it's nonsense. You know, this sort of reductionist stuff. Look, all food actually causes inflammation. All food. Any food you eat causes inflammation. Any food that you put inside you, this is the reductionist nonsense, that you put inside you, all oxidative phosphorylation causes byproducts and some reactive oxygen species. Just breathing causes oxidation. So there's a difference between, you know, chronic and problematic. And this is the problem with these reductionist studies, because the reality is you need to basically look at somebody in a fasted state that is eating a specific diet, and then test them and see whether they have any reaction. The time of eating, any food that you're eating will create some reactivity, because, you know, living or burn or oxidizing foods does create reactive oxygen species. It's part and parcel of the whole thing. That is why you have mechanisms to repair, glutathione, melatonin, all these things to repair from the oxidation of the day. It is extreme oxidation that actually becomes nearly irreparable. So don't fall for these reductionist, nonsensical, you know, most of these are just crap. They've used, you know, certain animal models. They've given them massive doses, which are unrealistic on the one hand, or they're basically looking in a very reductionist way. When you're actually looking at different diets, I mean, I'll give you an example. The A to Z study done by Christopher Gartner, a vegetated academic out of Stanford University. He did a study where it looked at the Ornish diet, the Atkins diet, the Zone diet, and the Learn diet, which is the nutritional wankers diet, as I call it. And basically, you know, he showed greater weight loss from the Atkins diet. It's shit all over the others. But the most important thing is when they started looking at inflammatory biomarkers and all that, the people on the Atkins diet were less inflamed, were much healthier, and actually had lower C-reactive protein, all these things. So when they looked at these other elements outside the study, so they had all the data that they'd taken, blood samples and all that. They published the A to Z study, which was basically a weight loss study. But then when they went back and drilled, data mined the actual data and looked at it, they actually found, ooh. And actually, Christopher actually admits that in a video that if you go to the Stanford University site, you'll actually do Christopher Gartner, the Battle of the Diets, and it actually admits to people in the crowd who are asking him questions, he admits that basically, you know, better LD, you know, the lipid markers were better, and also, you know, general inflammation, stuff like that was much better. They were better, healthier, much better results. So when we look at real people on a specific diet or not, that's where you have to compare. You know, this sort of reductionist nonsense where I'm using one amino to see what sort of response. Between aminos, between fats, and between all sorts of things, you'll get different levels of reactivity for a whole lot of reasons. That doesn't tell you anything. You know, breathing in oxygen, just not eating at all, just breathing in oxygen also creates some reactive oxygen species. Are we going to say we're going to stop breathing in oxygen because it's going to trigger some inflammation? Well, try it. You won't last long. So it's nonsense. Don't fall for that crap. And that's this sort of reductionist nonsense. And that's what they just peddle this bullshit. They peddle it and peddle it continuously. Life is when you basically things work in your body, those things have certain reactions. Some of them are a bit more deleterious than others. We're trying to avoid the things that are more deleterious and keep the things that are least, that also have a benefit. So the sort of a cost-benefit analysis between what helps you and what doesn't kill you, sort of thing, because there's no free ride in the world. Every single time you put food in, it doesn't matter what it is, you get some reactive oxygen species. The question is it very low? And I can tell you it is low. Through the electron chain, if you basically are putting sugar through, you will get more reactive oxygen species. If you're putting more fat, you get less. And it's well documented. It's in the biochemistry books. Nobody can deny it. So, but do both create some level of oxidative stress? Yes. It's part of living. So yeah, God, this is the problem with reductionist nonsense. Don't fall for it. People just use that. They go, oh, look here. For fuck's sake, go wank yourself in the corner with your nonsense. That's what you should say to them when they say that. Good evening, folks. G'day, Scott. You've got a fan here, don't you? Blinky, you're always distracted for some reason. Mate, how are you? Haven't seen you around for a while. Fluffy Rainbow. I think the last time I saw you was on one of Bart's live streams, if I'm not too that wrong. Yes. I'm hoping that as well. Fingers crossed. One can only hope in that regard. Yes. Are you familiar with Dr. No, I'm not. High dose vitamin D3 to cure autoimmune diseases with MS now and then. Yep. Look, I've been saying about vitamin D and MK4 as the two critical. I mean, retinol plays a role, but I better let Blinky become a peer. And so, yeah, but there are diminishing returns beyond a certain point. You don't want to go extremely high. Vitamin D, if you're in the sort of, over 100 nanograms per deciliter, can be a bit of a problem. There can be other imbalances in the body. So you don't need to go that high. And the reason why you don't need to go that high, because you combine MK4 in the picture as well, because it is a player in autoimmune disease, and there's plenty of studies. I just haven't done the video on it yet, but I've looked at the research. So, and that's a better combination. But also retinol plays a very big role as well. Let's not forget, Terry Walsh actually used a lot of organ meats, and those organ meats are not very high in vitamin D3. They're very high in retinol and MK4. So she used a lot of organ meats to reverse her autoimmune disease. So all these fat-soluble vitamins play an important role because, as I said, matrix metalloproteinases are involved. And this is what these guys miss. They miss the important part of these enzymes that are involved in all the structural stuff in the body. And so remember, your cells are just not something like ethereal or sitting out there in the ether. They have a structural relationship to each other, and they communicate with each other. And the regulation of that, or the dysregulation of that, plays the big role. So it's not D3 only. It is the synergistic relationship of retinol, MK4, and vitamin D3. That is where the real magic happens, where these people are probably, because I've heard about them, high dose vitamin D and all that, but the problem is they're not really, they're sort of they're reducing some of the symptoms, but they're not getting rid of the autoimmune disease or suppressing it sufficiently. A lot of their clients still have some level of disease patterns. Where on the other hand, where Terry not only she was supplementing vitamin D, but she was also getting these organ meats and getting these other fat-soluble vitamins to very high levels, and that was making the difference, this synergistic combination. So she didn't identify, she identified the micronutrients, but didn't identify the regulatory side of these, their hormone-like behavior. That's where the magic is, that synergistic relation. That's what everybody's missing. So, yes. Anyway, let's move on. TikTok. Oh my God, you're not joining that, mate, are you? You're not joining that, are you? A stripping birdie. You're gonna be a horny birdie. God, there is a concern there. I am concerned about you and worried about you. Next, you'll be joining Richard Burgess, that other vegetarian, doing unspeakable things on that other not-to-be-mentioned website. Oh, God. It is concerning with you, my friend, dear feathered friend. Tell you one, do something. Bring him back to his senses. Eric, Stefan, they just okay if you're eating crap and looking for easy switch. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, look, they've got their place. Don't get me wrong. And I would say some of the ideas that a lot of people have got, they're touching on a few good points, which is important, but they sort of miss this synergistic relationship between things. It is a complex interplay or dance between a whole lot of things. The body is not this sort of reductionist nonsense. These guys just, it's just, oh, we tried that. Oh, it seemed to have some effect. It's all this reductionist. It hasn't got us anywhere. All the reductionist stuff hasn't got us anywhere. We had Linus Pauling, who had the same reductionist nonsense with vitamin C. And his wife had cancer, and he gave her boatloads of vitamin C. All he did was manage giving her a boatload of oxalate, which got stored, which isn't a healthy thing as well, having too much stored oxalate. But on top of that, didn't really help her, didn't save her. She still died. And he was a brilliant man. But again, this sort of this reductionist nonsense that we've had since we discovered vitamins and minerals and all that, we've had this really reductionist approach to understanding just in a reductionist way all these pathways. We haven't really, we don't have in biophysics and biochemistry, we don't have basically an Einstein to pull it together and give us a real beautiful picture of the interplay. Like Einstein understood the interplay of a number of forces of nature. This is the problem. These people are still in a very reductionist, very primitive way of looking at biophysics and biochemistry. And when you're looking at biochemistry, it's a very narrow reductionist approach. I sort of call it Newtonian biology, where biophysics, where you're looking at, quantum biology and the complex interaction of different elements, is more what I would call like an Einstein version of nutrition. And it's in the early stages of development. So we're still learning a lot of things because we're quite primitive in our understanding of the interaction, the complex interaction within the body. So yes, plenty to learn. So plenty of exciting moments to be had in the future in that regard. Anyway, fish have got fuck all. Yes, we know. In terms of biotin, I suspect that was what it is. You're welcome. I've been spotted. Yes, you have. Good that you acknowledge it. Getting back to my job now before I get into trouble. Yeah, you better. Before somebody pulls a few feathers on you. G'day, Gary. How much vitamin C does one get on a carnivore diet, and from where? Just from meat, mate. You don't need much. If you're not competing at the GLUT4 receptor, when it comes to, you don't have carbs in there competing, just what you get from meat and stuff like that, you'll be fine. Most of these sort of people, the sort of bullshit out there, and collagen degrading enzymes played a far more important role. I've actually sent Bart a study, which I want him to read. And we will do a thing on vitamin C, and you will be really surprised. You'll be shocked. So not everything that you thought you knew, but I don't want to go into it because I don't want to give things away at this stage. So, I like to shock, as you guys know. I like to literally just, I like to pants, as they say, the king, and and have him standing out there completely naked and realizing he's a buffoon. Because a lot of them out there, these reductionist princes and kings, are buffoons. Anybody I can read out of a biochemistry book. It doesn't make me, it doesn't tell me that I've got a deep understanding of these processes. Anybody can read stuff. I don't use their language. I use their language when I'm talking to them, but I don't use the language when I'm talking to you guys. When I'm talking to Bart, I'll use that language, but I don't use it when I'm talking to you guys. Why? Because none of you you haven't studied this sort of stuff. So if I use terms, what is the bloody value? I'm just going to lose you guys. So I bring it down to simple, plain English so you guys can understand it. That's my motivation. Yeah, exactly. Even eggs. There's plenty of vitamin C, and we don't need much, believe me. And, potentially even zero. But yes, I'm giving too much away. So you'll be shocked, believe me. Some of the experiments that are out there that are really just throwing spanners in all sorts of stuff. We believe a lot of bullshit just because some fuckwit who's got credentials said it. That's not science, that's opinion. Science is experimental. And when experimental science research shows something different, we have to reconsider our initial hypotheses. So yes, I'll be blowing that one out of the water as well. Yes. Yes, you get plenty from meat. Believe me, the Napoleonic soldiers used to, and they were not in a ketogenic or whatever state. They just ate normal stuff. When they had scurvy, they butchered an animal like a horse, and they fed meat to the soldiers, and it reversed scurvy completely. There's more than vitamin C in that horse meat, isn't there? Anyway, let's move on. Bart did a reading of Fat of the Land, Chapter 8. Did he? Oh, yeah, that's right. He was doing it with some of the others. Let's put it this way. I didn't watch them. Don't tell him. I did tick his box and gave him a like, but I didn't watch it. I have read Stefanis's book, and so I didn't need to listen to it since I've read it. That was ages ago anyway, but it was interesting. Both that and a few other things about the Inuit life and stuff like that. So there were many others, not only Stefansson. So it was quite interesting. Which goes into the famous explorer suffering scurvy while taking citrus. Yep, exactly. With them, but once Scott did not buy any packing meat instead. Yes. Look, meat is really magical, but I'm not going to give it away. Go away. You'll have to wait. Wait. Yes. Fat of the land. Yes, Blinky. Fat of the land. Nothing like it. Yes. You're welcome, Dave. Yes. I do love my... when it comes to cheese, does the status of it being raw provide any benefits? Yeah. Look, you're going to get more enzymes and stuff like that, where what they do is, depends on the when they basically nuke or okay, we won't use the word nuke, that's a bit over the top. When they pasteurize the milk, they bloody nuke it anyway. You lose a lot of the enzymes. And it's not only enzymes that are basically, the lactose type enzymes that break down the sugars and stuff like that. No, there are other proteolytic enzymes that do play a number of beneficial roles in the body. So they're you got lactoferrin and things like that, but a number of others that have immunomodulating. There's a lot of things that get lost. Let's put it that way. So as a consequence, it is a lower quality thing. That means you're getting much less in micronutrient benefits and, enzymes, and you're getting some beneficial bacteria that some of the producers will put back to create the different varieties of cheeses. But you also lose some of those other vitamins and minerals to some extent as well. They get reduced to a certain degree, others more than others, depending on also the temperature that they've applied. So it's a mixed bag. But what you're getting is primarily a lot of macros and certain minerals, because minerals don't get lost due to, well, you get a bit of loss in all production, let's put it that way, but you don't get a big amount due to pasteurization. It's basically the B vitamins and the fat soluble vitamins that are reduced to different degrees depending on the temperature. So, so that's, then they put back, some of the animal rennet, some of them, not all of them, some put plant bullshit back. Some of them basically will put some of the actual strains of enzymes back. There are a few, like some of the French companies are actually putting back some of the enzymes, which is really nice. Not all of them do it, but some of them do it. But also, but if you really want good quality cheese, go for Italian and French, especially the Pyrenees ones, which are closer to the Swiss Alps, that basically are more raw in nature. So they're the better ones, and that's what I usually buy, a lot of raw cheeses. Far more benefit, on a lot of fronts. So I am going to do something on cheeses at some point in time, and I will do also one specifically for Greek cheeses as well, varieties that people are unaware of. So that is coming. So it's in the works, so to speak. What disorders do you have? Have you been benign? No, I don't have any disorders. Thank the fuck for that. Hold on. Oh, you talked to Dave. Okay. Sorry, Gary. Yep, fair enough. You're asking someone else, not me. The only thing that I've had is cardiovascular issues due to seed oils. Oh, wonderful. Yes. Had fun having my chest ripped open. Yes. Yep, because from the fat, you actually got some of the other stuff, the other important fat-soluble vitamins. Good for you. Harry, I have made my son raw milk, egg yolk, spoons of ghee, cup of ice, a few drops of stevia, a little glycine for ice, cream on a high-speed blender, and he pulled his face but asked for more Day later, great, great. Yeah, if you can get good nutrition any way you can get it in, mask it in any way, in a way that it's sort of a popular way that kids consume this sort of stuff, great. If you can get stuff in, good nutrition, it's a good idea to do it. It's always difficult. Sometimes you have to blend things and combine things and create things. It's like, for instance, some people make the pizzas, like carnival pizzas. So like they use a lot of a cheese-based thing, and then they throw on a lot of mozzarella and stuff like that and make a sort of a, that sort of a carny pizza. Great. You're getting a whole lot of nutrients in. As long as the ingredients are good quality, they'll love it. And you're giving them something which doesn't have any seed oils, because the biggest problem with a lot of pizzas is they do have seed oils in their base and stuff like that in their mix. Like in Hobart, there is only one pizzeria that actually uses Italian, sort of Southern Italian, basically olive oil. And I know the guys, they're in North Hobart, and they're in the laneway. So what's the laneway called? I'm trying to think of the name, the laneway. Fuck. Can't remember the name. Anyway, it'll come to me eventually at some point, so even though I'm not recommending pizza, but I'm saying that if family members of yours you're in Hobart and they want bloody pizza, just go and you get one of those pizzas. At least you know that the pizza basically, they're using olive oil. They're not using toxic seed oils. So you're still going to get the sugar and a couple of other things you shouldn't get. But I'll let Blinky visible again. And yeah, so that's sort of the thing. Anyway, we were all waiting for that T1. Yes, aren't we always? In great anticipation. Yes, Trouble would agree with that. Yes, we love Blinky. If it wasn't for Blinky, life would be quite boring. Let's not forget also, Bellbird. He's one of my favorites as well. He keeps me interested. He pokes me quite a bit. Not in that way. Don't get the wrong idea, you guys out there. Ugh. Some sick puppies, I know. Some of you. Yes. Harry, for a carnival, is it worth spending dollars in deuterium depleted water? No, unless you've got active cancer, unless you've got really severe energy issues where your mitochondria is in a mess and you need to repair. So your body doesn't have your mitochondria don't have the capacity to generate enough energy to clear out, the sort of stuff. I noticed that T2. I love to poke you, Harry. He's a warrior, isn't he? Boys and girls, bloody hell he is. Keep him under control, Blinky. What are you doing? Keep him under control. Get that whip out. We don't have Shell here to get the whip out and, keep him under control. Look, I wouldn't waste my money. Let me put it that way. If you basically have a good level of, you keep the high deuterium foods out of your system, which are the sugar, the refined oils and stuff like that, the honey. Let me put it this way. Honey has 1 part per 5,000, which translates to 200 parts per million. So sugar is 155 or 140 something to 155. Seed oils are 255. Really nasty in terms, the level is too high for your body to deplete, so you end up doing some damage to your mitochondria, the electron chain okay? So if, on the other hand, you consume honey, like Salad Boy does, you will basically, put 255%. So let's say that is a quarter of your diet, and the other stuff is around about 150, 40 odd or 30 odd or something like that, as an example, So even at the 100, and we'll be generous, 120 odd. I won't do the calculation in my head because I'm bloody tired. But would say, you got a calculator, don't complicate things. So, if it's a quarter of your food, you know, let's say we'll be generous. We'll just say it's 10. It's 10% in that regard, and the rest is about 120, which isn't, because meat is about 140 odd. So you can actually see the numbers. This is why it's really important to stay within those bands with certain foods and avoid other foods. But I'm going to be completely generous in that regard. So times that by 9 plus 200, divide that by 10 is 128. So already we're nearly at 130, and I'm being very generous at 10% of calories. So I'm being very generous in that regard, which it's not. It's much more in that terms of sugar, but I'm being very generous because some of these guys are eating 100 grams of, or 50 to 100 grams of, this sort of stuff a day, so plus other carbs and all that. So they'll be definitely over the 130. They're not in the sweet spot between 100 odd to 130, which is where basically olive oil is 130. So yeah. So if you're doing that sort of shit, then it's a problem. You may have accumulated a bit, and you may need a bit of deuterium water for a short period of time, a month, to deplete more rapidly, to bring it down to the lower levels, which, if you're around about the 90 to 100, you don't want to be below that, too catabolic. But if you're around that number, there is no way in hell you'll ever get cancer. You'll be cancer proof for life. Like the camels, which are deuterium depleting machines. They've got that hump full of low deuterium fat, and on the other hand, they consume water from cactus, which is depleted deuterium water because of photosynthesis and solar radiation. It depletes it, brings it down to the low levels. So camels, that's why camels don't seem to show their age. High deuterium foods will age you. Simple as that. Low deuterium foods will basically keep you looking more youthful. It's not surprising when people go on carnivore diets and consume more animal fats, their skin looks better. They look more youthful. So, yeah. Yes, in that regard. So, let us move on. I'm trying to lock him into his bower as he. Oh, okay. Yeah. Issues with T2. Yep. Fine. Getting confused there for a moment. What is he saying? Host Harry takes a while. Get to the question. You need to. It needs to be contextualized. T1. Yeah, my sister has osteopenia. Yeah, she's taking 500 milligrams of calcium. Why the hell is she doing that? Is there anything else she can do? I'm also worried she has plaque in her arteries, more than likely. Yep. Look, I've got a protocol. I can't remember who actually asked me for the protocol. And it is a protocol to fix for bone mineralization, and also for adjustments to thyroid and stuff like that, and certain vitamins and minerals and stuff like that. Send me an email, and I will do I'm going to do a vid, so I don't have to email people continuously. But yeah, if osteoporosis, osteopenia, stuff like that, the question is, when you're not in the sweet spot, you're either in the spot where your bones become too brittle, or they become too osteoporotic. So, you want to be in that sweet spot, so you don't get this sort of effect. So, yeah, shoot me through. Calcium supplements are not the way you should be getting it. you should be basically using vitamin D, bringing in calcium, because let's put it this way, osteocalcin, when vitamin retinol and vitamin D combine, they are cofactors in creating a whole lot of enzymes. These enzymes, are involved in bone remodeling and stuff like that. Okay. To activate them, as Weston A. Price would have said, you need activator X, and activator X is MK4, the vitamin K2. So you need these, one to pull in, and at the same time, calcium, which comes from food, is the structure is important as well. This is why I don't like, calcium supplements. Oh, please stay away, because these enzymes have certain structures and hooks and docking to dock and grab the actual calcium and move it and take it and other things. And so that's where it plays a role to have these working together and working also with the remodeling. Boron is very important as well. And if you've got, things of this sort of each, you need at least 6 milligrams. So not the lower dose of 3 milligrams that I usually say to people, as you're getting older, to regulate and balance your hormones, get a bit of boron in there if you can't get it from the diet supplement. But when we've got these sort of issues, we definitely need at a minimum 6 milligrams. I usually ask people to start higher and lower because bone mineral density increases with boron. It plays a big role. So it's a very complex symphony of calcium, boron, these fat-soluble vitamins, and a number of other factors that are playing together, and also your hormones. And the other nice thing about boron, it also helps regulate those hormones much better. And things like selenium and iodine and stuff like that. And this good symphony of combination actually tends to fix these problems. So send me an email and I will send you the info in that regard. And at some point when I pull my finger out or I've got a bit of spare time, I will create a video on that. I'm also recommending a number of probiotic, but not general probiotics like, all the other people out there are selling. No, I'm not into that. So that's shit. It's a waste of money. What I'm looking at specific probiotics that have specific targeting. They actually, some of them are part of a protocol that I have developed to basically for anti-candida. There's a specific, but that same, strain also brings down a lot of the other pathogenic and sort of improves irritable bowel syndrome and all these sort of things, develops better mucosal layer. So I'm actually looking at targeted sort of stuff. So where, kefir and some of the other probiotics are more generalist stuff. These are specific strains that do specific things. I've even done one, which was a German one, which the other one's a Swedish one, but a German one that basically also deals with dysentery, upregulates to some extent some of the actual B vitamin production, and does a whole lot of other things as well, which are really positive. So that's a series of sort of biohack probiotics that I want to do, but I just haven't got the fucking time currently, but I will get to it at some point. So look forward to that. So those are the sort of things that I'm trying to get done. But at this stage, I am focused on my reversal of Hashimoto's protocol. So if you've got friends or relatives or whatever, please try and get them to sign up. They will have to provide their own. I'm not paying for people's supplements and stuff like that, or foods or whatever, but you've got the opportunity to potentially reverse your condition. So if you follow my protocol, so because you get it for free, you just have to dib in for the foods and other stuff. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, drop me a line, mate, and I'll send you some info through. exactly. Food. Edible food. Man-made calcium. We'll do that. Yes, definitely will. It's crap. A lot of it, Yes. Let alone some of it actually can end up, if it's really deranged, also causing some calcification of other soft tissue, in particular your kidneys and stuff like that, which is the last place you want it, causing you sort of some blood pressure issues and all sorts of other issues. Yes. Anyway, good man. Anyway, so any further with more depth? We've pretty much covered those. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Further down. And does she exercise? Oh, yeah. Does she do that? Yeah, that's important as well. Weight-bearing exercises are very important as well in this protocol. Yes, good point. Very good point. Yes, you do need to exercise those muscles. That body host for insulin regulate glucose transporter. Yep. Basically, yep. She and exercises and not friends at all. Oh, that's not a good thing. Well, you can get a little weights, like 1.5 kilo weights that I've given my old father, and he does those. A couple of minutes a day, twice a day. Wonderful, So you do what you can do in that regard. Get her into a routine. Anyway, g'day, Zombie. Good to see you. I didn't like to buy imported foods normally, but I bought some loving pork suet from French cheese yesterday. So good. Yeah, exactly. Look, sometimes, if producers in your own country don't produce a certain stuff, you got to, I mean, feta cheese in Australia is not that great from local producers. So I do get Greek feta cheese. A lot of my cheeses actually are European because they do have a better tradition. And the other nice thing is that I can get a lot of raw, cheeses, and raw stuff, cured meats out of Italy. It's just local producers just do not produce the stuff that I want. It's all over processed, overheated, pasteurized and chemicalized and everything else. Fuck them. If they're not producing stuff that I want, I'm going to buy elsewhere. Simple as that. To say, oh, I want to support my local industries. Yeah, go and buy seed oil then and kill yourself. That's the same thing. That's if your local producers aren't producing what is good, basically. I've sometimes contacted producers and said, well, why aren't you guys doing this sort of stuff or that sort of stuff? And like one of the local companies in the northern of Tasmania on certain organics and stuff like that. And I said, look, I'm actually buying something from interstate. Why aren't you guys sort of producing a product that, and they said, look, we're in the process of transitioning some of the farms to more organic sort of production. It's going to be in the next couple of months. And I said, great. So they gave me a bit of feedback. Now I'm aware. So, once they will announce it eventually. And when they do, I'll go back to, because some of their products are quite nice. It's just basically, if they're basically transitioning and eventually they make them more organic and all that, then I go, yep, I'll go for that. Why go for something else? Why pay the extra when you can get it local? So, yeah, it's going to depend on circumstances. And you're right. I agree with you. I completely. Yes. G'day, mate. And Lucas is asking me, Harry, what do you think about eating insects, say crickets? I have used cricket flour in the past and I enjoyed it very much. Very nutty. Look, I have actually eaten insects in Thailand, so I will admit to that. And yeah, I did. A number of years back, I did have a half Chinese, half Thai girlfriend, and basically Cindy sort of introduced me to, some of the Thai cuisine of that sort. So that was interesting, let me put it that way. Yeah, it is sort of nutty and stuff like that. Yeah, it's got a different, a different texture and stuff like that. They do make also, I know in West Africa, they literally go out and harvest in big nets massive amounts of crickets and all these sort of things, and they do make flour and stuff like that. It's an option for people that basically want to make, let's say, a burger bun, and they want to make it from cricket flour. So it's an option. The problem is, a big issue is trying to get it. There was a South African company, but I don't. The other company in Hobart that was sort of linked to them, they couldn't get that specific product, and then they stopped having a relationship with that company, so it sort of didn't really happen. And then I came across an online company, but it was quite expensive, and I go, well, do I really need it? No, so it wasn't a real thing. But I mean, if you wanted to get it, let's say you wanted to make burgers, sort of rather than using flour, bread, wheat flour, you wanted to use something like this sort of flour. Yes, it is a bit more pricey, but you can make it a bit thinner and smaller and not as bulky and large. And you could basically create burgers for your kids and stuff like that, which would be a hell of a lot healthier. Shitloads of protein in them, which is really good because that extra protein is really important for a growing child. So yeah, it's I would, yeah, definitely good stuff. Yes, very much we should be promoting that sort of stuff as alternatives to some of the crap that is out there. Yeah, thanks for that, Lucas. Mature cheeses. Got some artisan cheeses from market today. Bang Divine, yes, nothing like that sort of cheeses. Yeah, look, a lot of rare neurological diseases can be arrested and fixed with a species appropriate diet. The problem is trying to get people to change is the biggest difficulty in jettisoning the highly inflammatory foods, in basically fixing the underlying thyroid issues, the underlying sort of immune dysfunction, immunological dysfunction in trying to taper off certain things. That's where the biggest difficulty is. Then again, they may have also some reduced capacity in terms of deuterium depletion because I've got some damage, mitochondrial damage. So they may have to look at that sort of side of things where they need to go much harder than other people to clear out the deuterium, give better sleep patterns, eliminate blue light. So you've got better melatonin production so you can actually repair, because melatonin plays a big role in repairing the electron chain. So you need to, there's a number of strategies depending on where you are. I usually say people that have got neurological need to look at the light issues, the blue light electromagnetic spectrum, EMFs in the evenings. In the daytime, less of an issue. In the evenings, turn them off, or basically go Ethernet like I do. So there are all these sort of things, factors that actually have to be looked at. Look at earthing yourself, getting rid of those positive ions and getting more of those negative ions into your system, and, creating less stickiness in your body, so your proteins fold properly, they function properly. There's all this side of things, so most people, by the time they get to these neurological, situations, they've done a lot of damage, which they need to reverse. And that needs, a stage by stage, and it usually takes a couple of years, anywhere between 6 months to 3 years. And when you're looking at some of the issues in terms of seed oil stuff, to clear it out and to improve the communication, the cellular communication. Low dose vitamin E can take 4 to 6 years, depending. So it's not there's no quick fix. Anybody tells you there's a quick fix, they're a bunch of wankers trying to screw you out of your own money, or, they're selling you false dreams. It takes time. When you've spent decades ruining your body, it's not going to happen overnight. Let's be realistic about these things. Anyway, I bet you do. Keep your distance. Sick bird. He's a sick bird, isn't he? Bird. Oh, God. I can't even use that term anymore. It now conjures up all sorts of awful thoughts. Tried a few different cheeses recently. Not bad. Yep. Porcine is a bit overpriced. Yeah, look, some of those are a bit overpriced. That's true. Comté, that's also overpriced. You get 100. What is it? I think it's 100 grams. I think it is. It's not 85. The other one's 85. That's 100. 100. Yeah, 100. Comté, and I'm just trying to remember. And basically, it costs like 11 Australian dollars for a piece like that. And I'm going, it's even cheaper in New Zealand. Fuck me. The same company, Woolworths or Countdown, it's called. There, part of the same group. What do I say? Anyway, yes, me and my issues with supermarkets or suppliers in Australia. Doesn't take much to excite him, does it? Yes, those two, thick and thin, Such a cute couple. Nice one. I love it. Thanks, Zombie. He admits it. We are, indeed. Oh, God. Child would be called Blinker. Oh, God. Warring. You're a sick puppy, aren't you? God almighty. This is those two are degenerating. Yeah, I know. They are degenerating. Exactly. Completely degenerates. I wouldn't go anywhere near them, Zombie. Now, lambs. How important is polyphenols in the diet? Can they be obtained? Well, you don't need polyphenols. Polyphenols have a hermetic effect. That's what they are. They actually is a low-grade poison, plant-based poison, that actually induces greater glutathione. So exercise increases glutathione far more. Fasting increases glutathione far more. A low carbohydrate, low sugar reductions in insulin and stuff like that, and IGF-1 and stuff like that also increase glutathione. A more ketotic state includes substantially glutathione. So why would you need a whole lot of fucking polyphenols? What a waste of money. No. Simple. That's an easy one. What's trouble saying? Yes. Needs to hide from these two. Oh, God, honey boy. Is that pure honey or Manuka honey? Oh, God. Oh, God. They're throwing the Italian stallion into the mix, the honey stallion. Oh, my God. Yes, those two. The whole conversation goes to about blue blocking glasses. How long before bedtime would be optimal? The moment the sun goes down, I basically put the blue blockers on. Simple as that. Easy. My manual says 1 hour. I'd ignore your manual. Melatonin production takes. Look, it actually starts from when the sun goes down and increases. If you want deep sleep, regenerative, healthy sleep, Yeah. Because remember, it's those early hours in the morning, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, where a lot of the magic happens of the deep sleep. So, yeah. Put them on early. Actually, I've got the other glasses as well that I put later in the evening. I'll actually change over these ones to these. And I actually said to Pim, I can't remember whether Pim said to me or I said to Pim. I can't remember. It actually will come through the wash through another video. And I said, I look, or she said, I think I said, and she agreed with me. I think it went that way. I can't remember exactly how it came into the conversation, but it all about these glasses make me look like a Las Vegas pimp. They're too big, sort of my face and all that. Anyway, I hope you got some laughs out of it. Hey, mister, do you want a woman? Anyway, better move on. Spent too much time in Asia. Oh, God. Anyway, back to it. Yes, kefir for probiotics. Yes, it's not bad. Not bad stuff at all. Borax is banned in the EU. Well, what do you think about boron? Oh, yeah. Well, boron is much better in that form. There's a lot of idiots on the internet that are using borax, and they're causing themselves some poisoning and other things because they don't know what they're doing. So, no, I would not use borax and try to extract boron from it by getting rid of some of the other chemicals. Just go and buy yourself a supplement. Don't basically put yourself at risk, please. So, yes, those cleaning agents that have got borax, not for human consumption. Please do not do that. Buy boron. It's quite cheap. It's only about, you get a whole lot of tablets. And if you get the life extension version, they basically have riboflavin in there as well, which is great. Great for your methylation. So, yes, we need more riboflavin. We don't get enough, the ribos in the mitochondria, or the sort of an important element in energy production. Yes. Anyway, moving on. It's available on my channel. If you check, you will find it on the About button. Go there and find it and tell them you're not a robot, and they will give you the email. Maybe I should give it to you now. Give me a sec. We can do this faster because I don't need to do that because it's my actual account. So they give it to me immediately. Yes. About email, and there it is. Copy. Oops. Oopsie daisy. And I got the other part. Wipe that out, and there it is. Easy. Proton Mail. And Proton Mail is a company in Switzerland, and they use an encrypted server, which means that the NSA cannot get access to your information. So what you send to me is private, and nobody can get to it because it's fully encrypted. There you go. I'll look after you. So your privacy is protected. Anyway, thanks. Yeah. Do that. Pork suet. Yes. I had pork today. The old boy, man. He's becoming, recently Dad's becoming more carnivorous than he used to be. So, yes, very surprising. So, in that regard, so had a few pork chops and some pork sausages, which were really nice. Not overcooked either. So you still have to cook them, you know, through, but not overcook them. So So they're still moist in that regard. Oh God, he's sick, isn't he? He's truly a desperado, a sick desperado. Yes, he hasn't worked out the finer touches. You woo women. Let's put it this way. You need to basically be a bit smoother. That's not going to work. So you need to flirt with them. Women love flirting. You need to know the art of flirting. If you learn the art of flirting, you don't have to be as forward. Yes. Ignore him. Oh, God. My Lord of Bright. What can I say? Anyway. I know the sort you'd be getting. I don't even want to know. I knew. Hey, I'm popular on these websites. Oh, God. You guys have been trolling me on the Asian websites. Is that it? People are using my images, are they? Oh, God. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's another. Yeah, exactly. Yes, Roy Orbison. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I wouldn't disagree. Come on. Blinkers, put him under control. If. And there is the email address. Anyway, let's move on from all these shenanigans of those degenerates. Doing great on carnivore, but I have very noisy digestion, not gas, but okay. You may have a gallbladder issue. Gallstone issue. So yes, there could be an issue there. So you should look at choline-rich foods. Choline is really important. The FXR pathway within it's controls certain enzymes and all that. So MK4, choline, and milk thistle, and so that should sort of help improve that. The other thing is also malic acid. So you can actually get supplements, malic acid supplements, which will soften the actual stones and help that sort of get out. So it could be because sometimes when you get this sort of noise and all that, because the biggest problem with when you have gallstone issues, it also can actually cause what is the actual, because it can actually go from diarrhea to constipation and all this and create all these sort of funny sort of situations where, and I've been through it in the past, believe me, it wasn't enjoyable. That was last year. I was, and on top of that, it wasn't that bad that it affected me, but also Dad as well ended up in hospital with gallstones. So, but luckily didn't lose his gall, didn't lose any organ, gallbladder, so which was good. But, it could be a gallbladder issue in that regard. To be certain, go and get it scanned and find out in that regard. But yes, it can be an issue. See, zombies into mail order huppies. As long as they do the dishes, they do the job. They, you know what I mean by the dishes. Exactly. What's your thought on adding glycine to a carny diet or low carb diet and all that? If you're getting enough protein and all that, not really an issue. The only time that I usually say to people if basically somebody's got things like, like bone issues or, things of that sort, connective tissue issues or stuff like that, getting a bit of collagen. But if you're eating eggs, that's high in glycine. Eggs are one of the best sources of glycine and a lot of the collagen type, aminos. So you can get it that way. Add more eggs to your diet. We don't have to buy all these supplements, continuously. There are some that sometimes are needed, but not always everything. We can still get things from the diet. We only use supplements to address deficiencies or to provide us with higher doses because they have some therapeutic value. So, yes. So you're looking at some internet lists, I presume? Yes. Zombie, change your name. The trolls are out on pursuing. Thoughts on curcumin? Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. They, in high doses, there's sort of turmeric, things like that. Not a good thing. They will give you pretty much an iron deficiency. So if you want iron anemia, like a lot of the subcontinent Indians, not a good idea. I would keep away. You don't need the hermetic effect. Go and do some exercise. Go do some fasting. You get plenty of hermetic effects. You don't need all these things. It's nonsense. None of our ancestors did. A bit. I use a bit. I like a bit of curry. It gives it a bit of flavour, but I don't use too much. And I use it in soups and stuff like that, so it doesn't really matter because there's not much meat there, or it's not my major source, the soup, my major source of my iron. So it doesn't bother me. But using it on a regular basis, I wouldn't do it. Yeah, when you're looking at to improve, you're looking at choline, very important. Choline plays a very important role in the brain, but also phosphatidylserine. So serine as well in the phospholipids in particular. You can get supplemental phospholipids. Some of the highest sources of phospholipids are eggs. So if you really want to improve your memory, add 12 eggs a day to your repertoire. You'll get far more phospholipids that way into your organ meats as well, high in phospholipids. So that's what you need to get, those phospholipids, or you can supplement. Simple as that. Either way, it will work to improve those things, but there could be other issues also causing it. So you've got to work out. But a big thing is looking at, I usually say to people, get a fish oil, a cod liver oil supplement, like the one from Rosetta, the company, the Norwegian company, which I've shown plenty of times. You guys know it. Let's find it here. So if you add AU to the end, you get the Australian one. So if you add .au, this is the official one. And let me just see whether they've got a UK one page, a UK page. No, they don't. So that will be that one. And this is the Australian one. So, yeah. So basically a cod liver oil to get more DHA into your system, or eat fish that have got higher levels of DHA. But if you want to saturate, this sort of stuff's much better. The other one in particular, which is really good, is the ratfish liver oil. That tends to have also this other acrylglycerol, which is really good for the brain as well. So I've got my 85-year-old dad on that specific type. Oops. Yes. He's got a bit of rat stuff into him. So that's that one there. So extra virgin ratfish oil is that one. And these are basically good quality stuff. You know, you don't have the sort of aldehyde issues or the rancidity and all that sort of crap. So you're looking at something like that. You're looking at basically getting in additional phospholipids from eggs or from supplements. That's the sort of stuff you're looking at, which is really important. Fish eggs as well, and it doesn't matter what fish eggs, all fish eggs are good. They do vary in their profile, but they have a lot of, anything which is an egg, in a sense, animals need phospholipids to develop. So children will get it from, they'll get it from their mothers by breastfeeding. So really important to get those phospholipids in that regard. So that will help the brain work better. So the fats, our brains grew because of fats. So sometimes we have to supplement because we may have been deficient over time, or we may have done something inappropriate, or we may have sustained some injury or whatever. That's why the high-fat ketogenic diet has such therapeutic effects on brain issues like epilepsy and things like that. It's not accidental, It's basically a lot of people that end up with these sort of issues, or where they're engaged, turning on these specific type of genes because of inappropriate by the previous generation, their mother or father and all that. And then these genes were turned on, they inherited by the child, and the child has these sort of things. If you can get at that early stage in particular, there have been many cases where kids were put in the 1920s and onwards on a very high fat 90% ketogenic diet. And these kids, like the Charlie Foundation in America, they had their complete remission. That means a lot of them actually were healed completely. But obviously that doesn't work for everyone, and I'll tell you why. Because Pottinger's cat, multiple generations to change things, and then to change back, you need a number of 3 to 4 generations. That's where the problem. If too much damage has happened over a number of generations, you'll get some improvement with a more species-appropriate diet, but you won't get complete remission or change, So you still will need to have certain types of protocols and ways of eating to support that going forward, because you've got some damage. You've been damaged in some way. And maybe over a number of years, you can silence those genes to a large extent and but you have to be more strict, those sort of people that have got issues like that compared to others. So there's that side as well. Sorry. Yes. Bearer of bad news. Yes. But the truth sometimes can't be avoided. You have to lay it out as it is. Sorry, mate. Yes, exactly. Avoid overdosing on those two. Yeah, they'll definitely rot your brain. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Oh, be nice. God, you can talk. You wanted to poke me before, and now you're on the skewer. Be nice. Don't worry, we love you, bird brain. I'm craving gelatin rich junk food. Are you now? While having a sensitive stomach. Yeah, look, the gut really requires that sort of gelatinous material. You're basically your gut barrier and all that really requires those sort of aminos in a sense. If you give your body really high levels of protein and amino acids, usually the body, and it's got enough micronutrients, vitamins and minerals as cofactors, it can create enough enzymes to do that from the existing pool of amino acids, of essential fat amino acids. Okay. Sometimes you can say, well, do I have, this is where sort of supplementing these sort of things like collagen and stuff like that. If you've got a gut issue, you go, well, I don't want to eat a whole bunch of meat. I don't know whether I'm going to get, I'll do a bit of collagen for a while, provide my body, then I won't have to transcript as many enzymes to do all the conversions, and where that energy can be used elsewhere, especially if you're older. You don't want to be taxing your system doing things where you can provide it. So that's the way I view it. You have to think of it in those terms, So, exactly. Okay, I consume a lot of eggs and liver. Great, good, exactly. Yes. Even your own eggs. Yes, and there's the Australian thing. And I better move on. I love myself some salmon roe. Yep, salmon roe's good. Yes. It's been a long time since. Oh look, I what was the last time I had some caviar? What was it, a couple of months ago? That was nice. So depends. Some, depends on the caviar. The quality can vary, but also certain parts of the year, when fish have got a lot of like fish eggs in them, I really like that. Because I go down to the waterfront and I buy my fish and sort of and basically, yeah, make my own. And I basically do it really lightly. I don't overcook them because I still want them sort of semi-raw. And then I'll actually melt a bit of butter and put the butter and mix it up. Ooh, nice, and salt and pepper. Yes, I know the salt can reduce the vitamin C, I've heard it, but I don't give a shit. Anyway, thanks, Harry. We'll check it out. Not a problem. Yes. That fish, and that's a boy. Yes. You could lather them both with honey. You'd like that T1, wouldn't you? A bit of a rat lathered in honey. Oh, you're all kisses and making up. Oh, such love. Not really. Well, look, hyaluronic acid is, let me put it this way. You can eat the chicken bones. I usually bunch off them. That's all hyaluronic acid. That's sort of, there's hyaluronic acid, those sort of stuff. You can eat it to some extent. But at the end of the day, you still need the fat-soluble vitamins. You still need all these sort of things, boron, you still need all these other things to do the remodeling and all that. One little reductionist, you can need it's the combination of things. It's the synergy. It's the symphony. So it makes a big, big difference. And the body can produce hyaluronic acid. So you don't really need to supplement it. Sometimes it can be quite expensive. So if you provide the body with the right materials to support the right enzymatic pathways, it usually fixes these things up. You can throw hyaluronic acid. Supplementation, you'll get a bit of an improvement, but not really much. So a lot of people throw a lot, and it's expensive, so, or even some of the creams that are out there. God, some of them cost an arm and a leg. My Chinese dear friend that lives behind my place, I was in her place last time and she was showing me all these sort of creams and all that. And I go, friggin' hell, Ling, how much money does this cost? She was showing me all this sort of stuff. I was helping her put up stuff because she, so. But yeah, I was going, I couldn't believe the amount of money that she was spending on this sort of stuff. And I still older than her, a decade older, had still better skin than her, and my father even better. So it's food, guys. It's really food. Supplements are only there for a specific purpose to correct a deficiency. But if we get the food right, the things tend to sort themselves out in a magical way. That's the magic of good food. I'm at the bottom. I'm at the bottom. Damn. That was quick. What a run. What an absolute run. Absolute run. I did really good for time. Because remember, I can't go over it's 2 hours now, so we have to cut it at this stage. Thanks, guys, for being here. There's one more question. I'll just cover that quickly. What's the cause of anxiety and depression? That's a damn long question you've come in. But look, a lot of these sort of things have multiple, vectors and stuff like that. Ask me next time. That would be a long question. And then to give you if you basically want some information, how to normalize your hormones, how to fix these sort of things and all that, because diet plays a big role, in, the sort of foods that you put in, like sugar and stuff like that, will create much more excitatory sort of pathways that will push in the brain, which isn't a good thing. And so, if you want more GABA, you want to be on a more low carb ketogenic diet and all that it reduces a lot of those sort of things, calms you down. But there's other things. Exercise as well improves anxiety and depression. Getting out in the sun improves anxiety and depression because you need that circadian rhythm. A lot of anxiety is also caused because of circadian mismatch. So this, as I said, it's complicated. It would take me half an hour to explain all the different intricacies at this stage. Do ask me next time, but those are some of the factors: light, diet, sleep, circadian rhythm, eating time frames, eat in the light, not in darkness. All these sort of things tend to normalize hormone behaviors and all that. And those sort of things tend to get rid of a lot of anxiety and depression and stuff like that when you normalize hormones. So boron helps as well. You don't need a lot for in terms of boron to help in that regard to stabilize and regulate better, 3 to 6 milligrams. So there's a couple of things, But if you've got a specific condition that you've identified in yourself or somebody close to you, send me an email and I will provide you with a strategy, because there can be differences in the way one thing is managed compared to another thing. So there are slightly different variations. Anyway, we are done. Yeah, I know. People get me at the end to try and rant. I had to literally discipline myself. Yes. Yeah, we know. And many other things, which we won't mention because it'd be a long list. So, you're welcome. Lambs, not a problem. I hope the emails that I sent you and all the other information also has helped. Yes, definitely fat and more fat. Yes, exactly. Guys, thank you. I appreciate your support. Appreciate you turning up. Take care. And I will see all you guys next week, because we will have next week a double event as well. So I'm trying to keep the time limits down so I can do more double live streams. So I can do the Eurasian one nearly every week. It'll be, because there's only 4 weekends this month, I'll be able to do slightly more. The next month, I don't know whether there's 5. When there's 5, it becomes really hard, because I just don't have enough StreamYard time that basically to fit. So I have to prioritize certain things. So it's all this sort of stuff. How much time you're given on StreamYard, the free time. So that's it. Yep, you're welcome. T1, thank you. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Mr. Alex. Thanks, Dom. Appreciate it, mate. Thanks for being here. Send me an email. Yep. And yeah, do send me an email if you need something more in depth. Yeah, look. So it can be inflammation, but not only. It can. Inflammation is a general sort of term that can come from all sorts of sources. It could be environmental. There are people that may be exposed to mold, and that could be causing themselves issues as well. There's a lot of things. So, and that's why I need a bit of, and then I would basically recommend certain plants. I mean, if you're in a rental, as an example, somebody's in a rental and there is some mold, and obviously, they don't have the financial ability of getting out of there. Well, there are ways where you can use specific plants that can basically improve the air quality. So there's always solutions to all sorts of things to basically improve people's health. So I just need a background of the situation, your lifestyle background situation, and then I can devise the appropriate strategy, which is going to be different for everybody. Most elements will be the same, but there will be some on the periphery that will be slightly different, customized to people's circumstances. And that's where you could say I'm a bit different than others, because of all the eclectic knowledge that I've got in all sorts of areas that sort of I can bring to bear on a conversation and give you a way of doing things slightly different in your whole lifestyle. I approach things in a more lifestyle approach, not, yes. Yeah, I am a hazard. As well noted by some women that I know. Yes. Anyway. Yeah, bring it up. Discuss it. Calcium supplements are not something that you want to be using. Our body needs a certain amount to come in, and the body regulates that. That's what all those processes inside. When you try to artificially force something beyond the sort of level that the body needs, that's when it becomes a problem. So that's why there are supplements and supplements. Aminos are not a problem, because the body will use them. We'll use the amino pool, put an amino pool, excrete them out of the urine or the feces, so it's less of an issue. But certain things, can be a problem, like iron, like calcium, like these sort of things. I don't recommend supplements with those sort of things. They are very problematic. You've got to get those things from the diet properly. Yes. G'day, Christina. Yes, you're late. I'm about to shut down. It's the end. You'll have to watch it from the beginning. Anyway, good to see you anyway. Thank you for turning up. And no, I have not had a chance. I will look at it. I just haven't had a chance. I will get around to it. I forgot about it, basically. Sorry. Yeah, too many things in my life. So I will see all of you lovely people next week. Take care. See yous all. Bye.